Okay, I think we'll start. So, I think the conversation got triggered with the fact that what all is possible, what's going on. While there is an entire talk I'd done some time back with other alumni groups in the IMCAL chapter about the science and art of influencer marketing. Today, I'm just going to keep it a little bit more data oriented about what is possible. So very recently, I developed a technology tool called Klug Tech, and Klug, well in German, like I said in the group, just means wise and clever. And what it has attempted to do really was to say, look, what is the problem in the influencer marketing space right now? So there's a lot of, and not for the want of it, but really there's been very limited data that's been available, and some of you may be familiar with other technology platforms that exists in the field of influencer marketing. Uh, so some of you will be familiar with what you will see today, but only partially because the amount of stuff that we have packed into this is really crazy. From saying that, look, is there a way for us to find influencers? And I'll start by saying that what are the problems that this tool will address. So first of all is to do with discovery. Uh, and why I say that is almost in any country, and given that I operate in fairly rigorously in two geographies, which is India and Indonesia, as a managed service, 90% of the brands more or less land up working with the top 1,000 influencers. In fact, that would be actual number would be a little less than that, which means as a top influencer in India, I am talking about L'Oreal on Monday and Coca-Cola on Wednesday and a Panasonic on Friday, and so on. I'm just exaggerating the timelines, but it's a small bunch of influencers, the really famous ones, doing most of the campaigns. So we're saying, hey, and while the conversation is now going that the world is going to be powered by the next wave of micro influencers, the smaller influencers who really have more credibility than just the awareness quotient of the bigger influencers, how do we find them? Many platforms have been trying to solve that problem, and they have managed to solve a bit of it, with some claiming to have a few thousand influencers to some claiming to have 100,000 or more influencers. What we've done is something on scale using the power of technology, the power of machine learning and AI, to say what can we do in terms of modeling of data to reach you, all such influencers information globally and on scale. And because it's technology, it's able to solve this problem globally. So what you will see today, while it works beautifully in India, it can work as well in Brazil or Americas or Latam or any country in the world for that matter. And I'd love to be thrown such problems. And because there's a lot of us and we sort of have not made a funneled approach to saying who will raise the queries and questions, keep typing them into the chat group. And Ravindra, you could help me by some once in a while pointing some questions to me in case I can answer them on the platform. So I'm going to do some live demo on the platform to show you what's possible. So that was the problem number one. Who are these influencers? Where are they? This platform works across three platforms, which is this rather technology works across three social media platforms, which is Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. And in fact, with YouTube, the problem gets even harder when you have to search out. Any search mechanism or data mechanism that you get using Google, let's say, would land you at best with the 30, 40 influencers that you could get, which would be very manual and not very scientific. So we have that. Second problem is, which is what I tried to get everyone's attention in the group earlier, was there are tons of influencers who seemingly do great work, who seemingly have great KPIs, who seemingly great numbers on a particular post that they do for a brand. But really, when you dig deeper, you see that first of all, we don't know what kind of audience it is. Then you see that the audience is really bad, and then you see that the audience may be entirely fake. In fact, a fun learning today will be that there are some top influencers, and we can look at some names while we speak. I mean, we can do it on the fly, and we can see how much of a particular influencer's profile has real followers. I'll show an example of one who's really successful with only 12% credible followers, and and that person also generates likes and comments and engagement. So you can't really tell by looking at a content, even going one level deeper, to really be able to see where the bots lie or where the fake consumption lies. The next part of it is, and we've got some really cool tricks, so I'm going to go into that. The next part of it that we solve is it possible to replicate what would maybe an Accenture or your agency would take 3 to 4 analysts, 5 to 6 weeks to give you a competitor report? This tool can, in 30 seconds, give you anything any brand did in India, or actually for that matter in the world, if they follow a certain set of rules. In 30 milliseconds, we can populate what an Agio has done in the last 90 days versus a Mintra versus any small D2C brand as well. So, very useful from that perspective to say, here I am, and what's the market doing, what's my competitor doing, and you can make all the calls. We have very many other features. So, what I'm going to do is dive into it and start walking you through these things. The idea behind today is, obviously, I'm hoping a lot of you will call me after this presentation, but really to open up your, if you're doing any sort of influencer marketing, if you're doing any sort of business problem solving, not to be limited by any amount of subjectivity of who your agency is, who your managed service modeler is. All data should flow through a brand logic, and then we can get into subjectivity of how good an influencer's content is, how will she work or he will work, and so on. So with that, I'm going to start presenting, and I hope you guys can see my screen. Are you able to see my screen? A few hands will do the job. Is everybody able to see my screen?
Yes. Yep.
Awesome. So I'm going to do a hard refresh and show you that what you're seeing on this is uh, what is the size of the data that Klug Tech is sitting on. So this is the front where you landing page, and what you can see is that on Instagram alone, this platform has deep granular data for 133 million influencers across the world. It also has a similar number of almost 7 million plus YouTube channels scraped for very deep granularity, and on TikTok almost another 80 million influencers. So that's where we get more than 200 million people, and we go platform by platform. So let's start having fun with this tool. Just to say, if you're a brand and you wanted to launch your influencer marketing plans in India, we can do this for any country, by the way, but I'll just take India for ease. And immediately the tool will say, all right, for India on Instagram, I have data for about 7 million people. And this is what will populate. Hang on just a second. Let me do that again. So we're down to 7 million. And then you might say, all right, this is great, but you know what? I'm seeing really big names and all sorts of things. I want to do my campaign for a particular city. So I'll just go with, let's say, Delhi. So we have two countries that you can pick. So not only are you able to pick an influencer, so everywhere the lensing is, influencer is your mouthpiece, but what you really care about is your audience. So are you able to build a funnel for your brand, for your business objectives by the audience funneling? And that's what we bring to the table. So we're saying that, look, if I put that filter saying I want audience location of those influencers from India to be from Delhi, I have 462,000 people who have at least 5% audience from Delhi. And you can see who are all these people. It's a SaaS model. You can download everything. Everything is credit based. Then you might say, hey, listen, I would like it to be a little bit more. We're doing a very Delhi focused thing. Can I have at least 50% audience? So this is an unemotional machine. You can put in all the inputs that you want. You can go crazy about your demands. And as long as the demand is feasible from a data structure integrity perspective, it will get populated. And you can see the scale and size. There are literally 6,000 plus influencers who are there. And now, how we define influencers? Any profile that is public with more than 1,000 followers, we pretty much have the data for them already in the system. So you might say, listen, oh, we've got a lot of people and some pages like So Delhi. How about just we want only people who are male, or we only want people. So you can put male or female, and immediately you will be able to see how many people out of those and how many are pages out of those. And the number will fall to an X, which is 5,400. And then we have some very interesting things where you can say, in case you were doing this in Bombay or in Maharashtra in a city and you said, I wanted people who speak Marathi, you can choose those cues of language for the influencer or their audience. So everywhere, the salience is not just the influencer, but more the audience. Because earlier, everything was assumed that if an influencer did a certain geography and the influencer spoke a certain genre, it would imply that the likelihood of their audience also liking that is high. While that is true, right now we are able to do this by data, funneling. And then we have some very interesting things. In fact, very recently, for a very well-known one of the leading big brands on a global scale, asked us, we want to find moms for our you know for our product for UAE, and we actually solved that problem through multiple ways. But example here is, let's say, uh, I want audience and I want influencer. So I want an influencer who maybe talks about, let me go with beer, wine, and spirits for now. We've got a whole bunch of topics on which you can search people instantly. So if you look at the interest buckets are a crazy amount, from gaming, footwear, shopping, retail, finance, health, and there'll be many more points you can do. And instantly you're able to find who are the people who are talking beer, wine, and spirits. The other way is to say, look, I want to do a lifestyle thing. There's an alcohol brand that I want to launch. So what I want to do is I want their audiences to be largely male. I don't care about the influencer's age, and I want the influencer's audience age to be at least 25 plus. As much skew can we get? So the more you push the system, the more the numbers it generates, and it gives you, and the more the pan India influencers start dropping off, and the more localized influencers who satisfy those criteria start populating. And you can also say that, look, I want the influencer to be at least 25 plus as well, and you can increase the skews. You say that, while I want the skew of this age group to go up to at least 35%, and the numbers will keep falling. More smaller influences, more relevant to your query, will start populating. And of course, I'm just taking sample examples. You can push this literally all the way. Of course, at some point, you may not get any results. But the idea is, now you can ask these hard questions and keep looking for people, and it will populate them by their descending order of followers, while giving you some baseline other KPIs. Then we get into some very interesting things. And you can actually say that, look, here's another thing I can show you. There's a problem with the world of influencers. Everyone who starts on a growth chart instantly starts adding dubious followers. They may be fake, they may be somewhat real, but people who just run a living for following people, they're called mass followers. So imagine you say that I want people with audiences that are good. Only those who have real audiences, more than 80%. So as you can see, all the many people suddenly dropped off, and we're just left with 104 results. And then you might say that, look, I need my team to go live with this. I want people whose email ID and phone numbers are already in the system. And immediately that number will populate, and you can actually download this result in real time. This is all SaaS model, so every time you buy data, you get charged, which is pre-decided. But really, this is the power of things. Now, let me show you some other goose pimply, sorry for bad English, but things with this tool can do. So,
So
imagine.
we have a question
Yes, please.
from Mr. RK. He says, do you also have an attribute for any endorsement done on any specific topic earlier and the success rate?
So we don't have success rate, because the success rate is a subjective thing and only relies with the brand. But yes, we can check for brand partnerships. So you can say any brand, and let's say we have 509,000 influencers who have done at least a partnership with any brand. Or I can remove that and you tell me the brand handle. Uh, let's say I say Mintra. I'm just, sorry, not influencer. Uh, I'll come to this. There's a very solid search for this. There are two ways to go about it. One is to say I can search by topic, but partnerships will reveal this. So I can put the brand here. Sorry. Suppose I put uh, Mintra. Let me see. I don't know. Let me come back to you on this. But yes, we can answer this. In fact, in a very solid way when we do the paid collaboration feature demo. Uh,
RK says not brand, say public service or topics like education.
yes. So when the topics get very interesting, so you say that look, I want to do something around public service. There are many keywords. Uh, Let me see if public service comes up. So let me see philanthropy. Suppose I just type. So there is a keyword feature. When you type in a particular word, immediately my algorithm picks up other words that influencers globally have used with 90% affinity and builds you an instant logic that says, if I put charity, philanthropy, these are all the other words, and therefore you can play with many keywords. And keywords allow you to instantly then say, who are the influencers who have spoken about these things at some point in time. Immediately I have 334 results. And again, you can do all of that. But I hope this sort of quickly answered this. And there are many other topics. For example, with all the ed tech and the fintech guys, of course, they've burned their fingers and right now not spending much. But finance was a very hard topic. In fact, we are helping brands like In Money and a couple of them to identify influencers at the drop of a button. So if you type finance, for example, similarly, the algorithm already knows what you're looking for, builds a set of words around that, says that this is going to be my search logic. And for a country like India, I instantly have 1700 odd profiles ready for you who are profiles. Now, again, you can do the same thing where you say, that, look, I just want influencers who are male or female, and you can do all of this. Now, the beauty of this platforms like these are that you are able to do and so you can keep making it harder and harder for the system to give you results that would have manually been unfeasible briefs. In fact, this would have been unfeasible even for my team to work on this 6 months ago. So the story of this is we went live, everything snapped to grid in October. By Jan, we were live in the country and globally. And right now, of course, we're signing up in almost 22 countries with partners like WPP and so on. But I hope I gave you a sense of a solve of around that. But yes, it can be done. Then there is something very interesting that gets everybody's, let's say, you're launching a big brand and you want to find really, for some reason, you say that I want to find people who have talked about Mini Cooper. I'm launching this really premium brand. So keyword does is it goes and searches all influencers in India who have at some point talked about Mini Cooper. But this is a very powerful tool because it not only relies on the caption of the post, but it can also pick up image recognition, which means I've already vector scanned, image rect 138 million Instagrammers in lifetime posts and tagged them against brands or products that they may have mentioned using image rec. And also in YouTube, this becomes incredibly powerful because we have done text recognition within audio of videos. Let me give you an example. For example, Faisal Khan is a big tech influencer, sorry, auto influencer. He talks about all sorts of cars all the time. But the proof of the pudding is that I will scroll down to his posts and I will show you a particular post where he's actually mentioned a car called Mini Cooper, which we have already recognized. And we did this very recently for another client, First Cry. They said we wanted to sell baby car seats, and we just ran the search live, and we found an influence. We found a whole bunch of influencers uh, who had actually shared at some point in the timeline a thing. So you can look at this. This is a Mini Cooper, nowhere in his post has he mentioned Mini Cooper, and we were able to find it. Uh, we calling it a beta feature, but it's working really fantastically. Uh, this is something that doesn't exist outside our world right now. Uh, then, what if, as a brand, and let's say you're a D2C brand or you're a big brand, and you say, look, I want to find who are the trending influencers, who are the influencers in the last 3 months in India who have maybe tripled uh, their profile growth. And this is very important because you keep hearing about trending influencers, and you hear about a few in the news, or somewhere you hear about someone's topical content going viral. But what we are able to do is instantly tell you how many people in India have more than tripled their profile. Either they have appeared in an OTT or something has gone viral, and there's a long tail of people who you can now marry in their early brand growth, in their early influencer journey growth, and strike deals with them and do things before. And you can make out that these are, there's another feature. Some of them may have been faking it, or maybe getting a lot of mass followers. And you will see that only 48 people have at least 80% credible followers out of these. So there is a lot of fluff around it, there's a lot of dubiousness, but the tool allows you to credibly find people who are growing in any market. And this can be done. I can change the location from India to, let's just go with, okay, US, United States. And here you go, some are there. And in fact, the play here is, we were just speaking to a brand, and I was giving them an idea that, look, you're launching a whole bunch of new Korean fashion brands. What if we found an influencer who has audience in India but is actually from South Korea? And how many such people? You'll be surprised that because of the amount of K-pop moving, and this is a very interesting data point. There are 46,000 influencers from South Korea who have at least 5% followers from India. And imagine, you can go crazy with that. And you can see that there's Anupam Tripathi who was there in Squid Game. And obviously, you can make out there are a lot of publications. You can again put that amazing filter of male or female, and you can push your grid of saying, hey, what if I want influencers who have at least 30% followers from India? Imagine the possibilities of doing these things, and the power of us to populate such data for you instantly in 30 milliseconds. Uh,
So we have a few questions.
yeah, let's have them.
Mr. RK asks, why not Twitter or Facebook as a platform?
Fantastic. So we've, as a technology, solved for three platforms, which is YouTube, TikTok, because this addresses the content-based influencer marketing to more than 90% of the spends of global play. So from a tech solve perspective, we said, what is the least common denominator of maximizing the market? Part one. Twitter is there, but Twitter is very small and big and skews, and there's been a certain rise in Twitter recently. As a managed service, we do that, but we've not built Twitter. Also, there are tons of Twitter platforms already. I forget their names right now. So we've not gotten there. The next question was Facebook.
Facebook.
Facebook, again. Facebook is not the preferred because Facebook is more about friends and contacts, and a very few of the celebs and page-led oriented people who have pages, and the quotient of organic reach. So again, it's a business call. Uh, Almost none of our brand briefs or campaigns in two geographies are around Facebook. So it's only Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Twitter, we've been doing some stuff like the algorithmic hacking of Twitter trending, or finding Twitter influencers to add a creamy layer to the trending that happens on Twitter, and very sporadic too because it's very occasional. Also, Twitter, the content life of the content is literally an hour or two, and whereas Instagram, the duration of the content can be up to 59 seconds, or depending on the format, on Instagram, and the life of the content can be 3-4 days. And YouTube has been the big winner for a lot of the new D2C brands who've actually shown the way for bigger brands, saying that, look, you can get actually a big affiliate network set up by using more of YouTubers and having sales attribution to products, because the life of the content, one is the duration of the content is longer, and the life of the content, the long tail can be 30 days, the short tail can be 30 days, and the long tail can be literally a year, where the content just keeps adding views and adding sometimes even sales. So we are working with brands like uh, Global Bees and Purple, and hopefully with First Cry and Goat and all of that. So we've been going after people who really needed hard work, quick funneling of influences that make the cut, and do all this fun stuff around it. And of course, there are other interesting things that happen where you say that, look, I, I want to look for a hairstylist. Now this becomes very hard to look for someone. So imagine we are able to, and especially when you're looking for food. If you search for food as a content genre by influencers, almost every influencer thinks he or she is a foodie or does a lot of food blogging. But if we want, suppose we just want chefs, and I write chef in the bio, and I say how many, and I want the influencers to be from India, and I'll just remove the audience cut for now. So right now we have 8,000 influencers in India who have professionally mentioned that they are a chef in India. And this gets really interesting when you want to do chef or you want to do hairstylist, like I said. And I put that, and you can do only one bio search at a time. We have 5,000, almost 6,000 plus, 6,000 odd people who you can identify, and so on. So you can go for a pediatrician to really solving hard problems in multiple ways to do this. So this tool really is like a Google search engine where, depending on your ability and our ability to work with you and give you all sorts of search results, that will land you in a place that's really incredible. And here's a fun fact. Like I said, out of 7.7 million influencers with more than 1,000 followers in India on Instagram, only about half a million people have more than 80% real followers. So you're getting the size and scale of what's going on out there. Now I'm going to switch to something very interesting called paid collaborations.
So we have a few more
Oh,
questions.
sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Norbert asks, is data collected through official APIs or through web scraping?
Both. Our reliance on building this tech and building it to scale has been the fact that we needed to get to data really fast. API gives you limited data, API, and I will reveal a lot of that. But we have the API, we use API access. It gives us a lot of data, but our modeling technique has been so powerful that we are able to give you more information and hold an influencer against the light, uh, with more data than the influencer can give, or Instagram API can give. And there's a lot of scraping of data. So all of it has already been done, and all of this is, by the way, updated on a cycle of 30 days. So on an average, any influencer's data will be at worst 15 days old. Okay. So
Next question.
yeah.
Mr. Rohit wants to know, what does the engagement rate signify in the search result, and is there a filter for that?
Yes. So engagement rates signifies the total number of likes and comments divided by the total number of followers, averaged out to about last 30 posts, or or 90 days, whichever one is fulfills my criteria. So on an average on Instagram, most clients prefer to have at least 3% or more engagement rate. So by that logic, in India, you have Klug Tech has 5.6 million influencers who satisfy that. And that again is the beauty. So suppose you're doing a D2C brand and you want to build an affiliate system that people will really give me a great outcome. You can push that to say that, look, I don't have time. Since you have 5 million data, why can't we go to 10% or more engagement rate? And even there, we'll tell you that there are 2.6 million people, and you can again play around. Next question.
Mr. Ankit wants to know, how do you tag a follower as fake, since even bigger companies are struggling with that question?
That is exactly a problem we've solved, and I'll show you that very shortly. How we've done it is, there are 4 or 5 parameters. One is, not only do we scrape the influencers' profile and content, we take anything between 5,000, or in the case of smaller influencers, entirely of their followers, and scrape the follower data on a modeling scheme. So we would go up to as high as 22,000 randomized data points of followers of a particular influencer. What do we look for there? Of those followers, we go and see how many they are following. If they are mass followers, which means they're following more than 1,500 accounts, and that means their likelihood is of being somebody being paid to follow is very high. Then we look for people who do activities, which is either they change their display profiles or they at least change the post something on their timeline on content. If they don't do that, then we know that they are suspicious accounts. Over time, we are able to see if they don't engage with other people's content or they're just doing engagement of likes, and other people are doing silent consumption of content without changing. We bucket them into suspicious versus and mass followers. So and then we are able to cull out who are the people who are influencers, and therefore by activity we are able to cull out the real, and we'll show you that in a beautiful graph very shortly. But that is a short answer for that. The algorithm basically looks for human activity by each of those profiles, and we model this. So we are able to model this globally, and that's why we are able to give you data that nobody else has been able to do so far. And this has been verified by, again, at least 22 countries. It's been verified against uh, about 20,000 handles on a data scrape by our partners who did the due diligence very recently. Uh,
Next questions.
I think,
Uh,
yeah, go ahead, but we'll have to just keep moving. So, but go on, read the next one.
Mr. Saurabh wants to know if we work with education and learning companies as well.
The tool is unemotional, and we work with everybody. So we work with EdTech a lot. We work with, uh, we work with Upgrad. We work with Scalar. Uh, we are hoping to work with. Uh, I'm just going to stay away from many names, but let's just say we work with everybody, and the
Mr.
tool can
Swagat,
easily work with everybody, even more so.
Mr. Swagata wants to know if we can see a sample data export.
Absolutely. So after this call, what I'll do is I'll show you a sample data export, but also after this call, as many of you can, please, I put my contact details and my number. If you guys can WhatsApp it to me, and then I will actually create demo accounts for as many of you. We'll put limited tokens so you can fool around and play around as nicely as you like, and get a free taste of the unbridled possibilities of this. I'll put limited credit so you can do all the features, but you won't be able to download too much data. So I'm going to just
That's
move
good.
on in the interest of time because there's a lot to show, and then we can do a Q&A as we go forward with everyone's permission. So yeah, here's a paid collaboration information that we can say. So suppose you wanted to know in India, and this would have literally taken an Accenture, 3 analysts, and 6 weeks to give you a manually scraped data using some search and listening tools. Uh, I will show you what the power of this tool is, and this really allows you to do some crazy things. Created on, so this will only pick up 90 days data, but I'm picking a random older date. And suppose we want to see what has Mintra been up to. By the way, you can throw me a brand at after this search, any brand, and I'll populate that. The tool instantly starts crawling all the data that we already have in the system, reaches out to see who are the influencers who have done a paid collaboration, which is the Insta thing, or in the hashtags mentioned hashtag ad, hashtag paid collab, hashtag paid partnership, and or 16 other hashtags that qualify by ASCII and by our logic as declaration of having partnered with a brand. Now, what have we can tell you? What are the top campaigns that have been run? All the data, who are the top brands mentioned, including other brands that have been mentioned, because sometimes brands who, let's say, a Unilever is running a campaign, they'll want to mention both Nika and Mintra and Flipkart and Amazon. We'll have a breakup of who these sponsors are, and instantly we'll be able to tell you that in the last 90 days, Mintra has done almost 800 influencers have made 1800 odd posts. Total follower cumulative of these influencers is 500 million. So many likes, so many views, broken down into nano, micro, macro, and mega influencers. So you can see the spread. In fact, we sold it to another. This entire power of this tool was sold to, from a strategic perspective, to another very leading fashion portal by just showing them how they are doing it very differently and possibly incorrectly. compared to how a much bigger spender is doing it by saying that, look, there's a good spread over here, versus many brands tend to do very many big e-com platforms tend to do flash in the pan, big influencer campaigns. The world is enamored by the mega and macro influencers, but even brands that seem to know what's really good for them are focusing not just on that but micros and nanos as well. And we're able to bring forth such data. You can download all of this instantly. You can look at how you want to see by dates, or you want to see by who are the smaller influencers, bigger, everything instantly. So suppose you just want to see the macro influencers out of this, I will populate, no need to go outside the system. This entire file is downloadable instantly, both as CSV and PDF, with all the details that you could want for a particular brand. You can do this as a comparison of two brands. So now, as a result, I want to show you something which is very interesting, which is, let's just say, and I'm just going to give you an example of uh, paid collaborations done by, let's just use Firebolt. Very recently, they did a campaign, and this is a downloaded thing, and I'm showing you that they did a big campaign, and they had guys like Shubham Mudgil and Kamlesh Rockman Gamer. These are macro influencers. With, you can see he's got 1.18 million followers. Let's go after Kamlesh Rockman and see what he is all about. Has he been really worth the money? So I'm going to type Kamlesh Rockman. We can do this for any influencer, but I'm just taking. So now this is the influencer insight. We can go and we can hold an influencer against the light, and I can tell you more about an influencer than Instagram will tell you, using public data. We are GDPR compliant, so we have scraped data. We've used only public data, and we can tell you everything about this guy, uh, more than Instagram will be. And I'll just show you how. So these are the easy numbers, which is all right. How many followers, how many average views, average likes, average comments, engagement rate, etc. This is all very public. However, here's a prediction data, post-paid performance, which says when he does a branded campaign with somebody, he gets 58% more outcome than his top organic posts, which is rarely the case, because it's actually, so this means that he's either boosting the post or doing something with it that is really good for the brands. Normally, for an influencer who does not use money to boost his post, they get half the engagement, which is 50% of their organic posts. All right, this is still easy. This is the follower growth. Here's a cloud of word clouds of his usage on content buckets. Imagine if he's not free and we want other influencers who share similar content, our tool can instantly generate lookalikes and tell you who are there. And this feature is also there in the discovery. You find a particular influencer, enter their name in our discovery tool, and we will generate every influencer in India or in any geography who shares similar content. But you might say, hey, I want somebody who has similar audience, because we already have audience data. We are able to give you that sample very quickly to quickly refine replacements. Or you can run both queries at the same time in the discovery and find people who satisfy. You can find replicas of this guy if you wanted to on our platform, or any influencer who's worked for you. Only international brands in our brand affinity list, but we put what all has he been talking about, what are the influencer interests. This is all easy, but I'm going to go really quick to what can we know about the audience. And this is where you can see that only 21% of this big influencer is approximately credible. And here's the breakdown of somebody asked, how do we know what is the credible number of followers? He has 50% plus mass followers. That's a red flag. 27% are suspicious, which means they have close to zero activity and they just follow. So you have mass followers and suspicious, which you are left with 0.54 people percent are influencers, more than 5,000 following. Real are 17%, and that's really your value build here. 2.63% of his followers are also notable followers, which means they could be influencers, or they could be just public figures, celebs, and so on. And this is the place where it gets really fun, because we can tell you which are the countries they are getting their followers from, and no tool in the world can give you where the engagement actually is coming from. So while 41% of his influencers or followers are from India, 42% of his engagement from India, but then that's the problem starts. You start getting Russia, Brazil, Indonesia, Pakistan, Italy, Turkey. Turkey is a mass supplier, and you can see 43% of his likes come from Turkey, and so on. So right now we have two options as a brand, which is to say, hey, listen, I'll pay you 20% of your costs, or I will not work with you. And we have granularity, which is why the API discussion, which Norbert asked, was we can tell you how his likes and followers and likes are by the city. So we can tell you where are they generating the likes from, and you can see all the troubled countries showing up here. And so I hope the logic is clear. We can see the gender split of the followers, the gender split and age cohorts of the likers and followers. And here's the data around likes. So at least 70% of his likes are real. 77, sorry, almost 80%. So there's 20% buffering on engagement, and 27% are notable likers, which means people with more than 1,000 followers are liking his content. And you can see the countries and the split again by geography. We can tell you the account reachability and the how the likers. So he's got 57% engagement from males, whereas his actual audience, if you look at, is also 57. So he's got a fairly split. Sometimes you see this flipping a lot with an influencer who has a lot of of male followers but gets more engagement from females for whatever reason. But all of that data gets put forth instantly. We can tell you how you can contact him instantly. We have his number, email, and outreach. uh, you don't have to go outside this platform to look at his content. Everything is here. So you can see his organic posts. How do they look? You can, sorry, it's just taking some time to populate on my internet. You can see his sponsored posts, which are the brand collabs he's done. And this is the Titan Watches campaign he had also done very recently. You can also see the reels as a separate thing, because I'm sorry, it's just for whatever reason it's not loading right now for my internet speed. But you can see all content without having to go into an influencer's profile. Sometimes many brands have said, hey, listen, we've closed in on two influencers. Brand has decided, hey, we really love these two mega celebrities and we want to compare their entire data. So suppose I put Deepika and then I say, let's find Priyanka were the two likelihood. We can do this for any three influencers. So, but these are two comparable people of size, and we can tell you all their features and you can compare them against each other just like an e-commerce shopping cart. How are their followers? What are their engagement rate? What is the virality quotient, which is how much engagement comes from outside their followers for each? All the data being shown next to each other, and you can make out this cohorts. All data can be seen next to each other, which are the countries of followers, which are the cities of their followers, what are their content buckets of the interests of their audiences, and by what affinities, everything next to each other. And then you can actually see the content of each influencer without having to go outside the platform, which is you can see the top posts, you can see the top sponsored posts, which is brand collabs. Switch to the other influencer, see their content on sponsored and their top posts. And yeah, then here's another very interesting feature, which is to say, I'm running a campaign with 20 odd influencers. Can I possibly know how many are unique? So again, I'll just use, and we're happy to take questions right after this. It's Priyanka, and then let's just go with Priyanka and Deepika. Let's say you decided to do a campaign with both of them, but could you possibly know? And there are companies that were built on this to help model and identify duplication. We built that as a feature that says, look, the cumulative followers of these two is 147 million, but the unique audience out of this is about 106. Now, this could be good and bad depending on the brand and the reach, but we are able to tell this for 20 odd influencers and it's short. So that's really it. I think there were some questions. So there's a lot in each of these discovery nuances can help you build many, 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 many interesting ways to go about looking for influencers. But I went a little 100 kmph. Is there some point that you want me to revisit any profiles or any problems that you want me to solve or show or any queries I can address?
So there are a couple of questions.
Yeah.
Mr. Swagato asks, why don't you break engagements based on follower type?
So technically that's possible, but let's say give me a sense on follower type, which means you're saying what kind of audiences, interest. Would that be the query, Shagata? Okay, I think he's not here.
Yeah.
But to be honest, you can do that. So suppose you said, I want the audience interest to be music. So right now we are running influencers from India with influencer gender female, and audience interest is music, at least 5%. Uh, and as soon as this populates, you can actually put another additional feature saying that I also want them to have an engagement higher than 3. So this kind of it does do the job of that. I'll just refresh this page. Hold on. So, but it's possible to do what you asked, which is pick the audience interest, pick the follower interest, and then do that. Also, you can do it by the follower count, which is to say how many followers are there of a certain category. So let's say I want only small people with small followers, and you can define those buckets and then choose the engagement rate at the same time. So technically, you can do what you asked. Any other questions?
Miss Anisha asks, can we compare two influences side by side?
Oh yeah, we just did that. Anisha, did you see that
Yeah.
demo?
Yes, I actually posted it before we saw that
Oh, fantastic! Yeah,
split. Yes.
great, great. Next, any other? Also, follow it up with as many or any questions. In fact, I'm happy to do anything live right now. So, for example, you can choose influencers by followers. You can say, I just want to work with people with 5K to 50K, and I want the influencers to be from India, and I want them. So, this is like building the affiliate model for, let's say, a brand that says, hey, I don't care male or female. Get me influencers from India with 5 to 50K influencer location in India, and the engagement rate, let's push it to 6%. How many such people exist? And then you might actually say, I need to really take it live really quickly. Get me people with their email IDs and phone numbers already in place in your system. That's about 100,000 people ready to go in that category. You can up it again. You might say that, look, I want them to be up to 250K. So I want really the mid sized ones. So let's say 100 to 250K. How many people do you have who have that kind of size? Instantly, there's 3,000 people with more than 100,000 followers, up to 250K followers, with very high engagement rate. And you will see that the moment I drop this, how big the influencer list gets.
Kalin, are you also going to build something for influencers themselves, like a dashboard where they can sort of see what are the brands that other people have worked with, and something like an offshoot for this?
So this idea was given to us. You're right. This has been an input saying that the power of this tool seems to be going not just addressing business needs of brands, but can influencers go and look at insights of other influencers and emulate their content piece and build themselves better by going and seeing what are the learnings there. And but the inputs there we'll have to give them is more about the top content. What are the bucketing of that content that's really doing well? What is the mix of that content between, for example, Instagram is literally 5 different real estates, which is a static, a video, a carousel, an image, a reel, or a story. What is the frequency mix of that? So we could do that, but thanks for that. But yeah, step by step, we will be. We're right now just bootstrapped, and we've been able to successfully ride us through, and right now doing a well on our way to a, a very happy revenue place. But we will probably look at those development needs and things as we go forward. Sorry, that's a mixed answer. That I think it's a big opportunity because the democratized world of influencers itself is a huge space, and earning even $2 a month from 5% of them is a mad number.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you also take feedback from brands post them having worked with a particular influencer?
So I mean, The short answer would be yes. So as a tool, what we do is, what is it that we can integrate in terms of giving the client or any customizations? And because this is a massive tool, as you can see, like, this is, if you from Instagram I move to YouTube, you'll see about 7 million channels being scraped. So we can do very limited unique things, but we can, since we have all the data, we can do UI things. So we can't do database builds for a client, but we can give you unique queries, UI results that can allow data manipulation within that data stack. But yes, the short answer would be yes. And then there is social catalyzers, which is the managed service model. So we would always take client feedback and actually build on it, and actually tell the client, look, you did a campaign with 30 influencers, 7 were outliers. Now let's use Klug Tech and replicate those people who have similar, which is either use the influencer lookalike, audience lookalike, and hype engagement, drop the others and keep optimizing towards success, and keep measuring as a feedback loop to see what's working. But the data allows you to replicate successes very quickly.
That's incredible.
Thank you.
What a powerful tool.
Thank you. I'm sorry if I'm very exuberant, but I have been feeling that way in every presentation that I've been doing so far. So,
Hi, Kalyan. Rohit here.
hi, Rohit.
Great tool, and it's fun to explore as well, right? Can't wait to get hold of my credentials to be in the tool. Just a quick question. I searched for influencer discovery on Google, and it threw a lot of results of such tools.
Right.
So, what is it that you are trying to solve apart from what exists in the market already?
It is a damn good question, and I'm going to answer that. So, first of all, there are already tons of tools who have, let's say, they would have the UI feature. I have lots of tools. So, first of all, the gold standard for this would be a platform called Hype Orator. There are other platforms, let's say, like a Meltwater, which used to do listening, which has limited data tool. There's companies like Affable, and then there are some others like Winkle. There's somebody called Upfluence. There's somebody called Brand Maxima. There's somebody called Chorus. Everybody. So the gold standard on this is probably Hyperator, and they. So there are two core areas of differentiation. First, their data size would be probably 100 to 1000. So none of the Indian platforms will work for you on the scale that we are able to solve, because funneling is only useful if you're funneling through true data that's on scale. And we have scale at which is far beyond the best one in the world right now, which are big funded entities, so which is Hyperator and Affable. In fact, we are replacing Affable in 22 countries as we speak, that I've talked about with our significant agency partner. Uh, so that's one. Second is the analytics layer. So if I just go back to the influencer discovery for Instagram, um, nobody has data on likers, which is, a lot of people will give you the generic data on followers, but we give you data on likes, which is who are the engagers. Third is we have multiple. So you're talking about being able to segregate audience. So everywhere we are allowing audience mapping and influencer mapping. Almost all the platforms will just give you the influencers content bucket or age bucket or city or country. Everywhere we say that, look, I want out of this 133 million, I want people who talk about music globally in the audience. And then you might say, okay, I want that to be replicated for the influencer as well. Running two parallel queries of this size and this massive database and giving you a result that works is only on a platform. Third is, most platforms don't have these features, like who are the growing. So imagine I found people who are an audience and influencers who are talking about music. I've only kept 5% there, of course, you can increase it. Then you say that I want people in the last 2 months who have gained a lot of traction, which is have grown by, who have doubled their profile. So you're seeing the power of this. So none of them will be able to give you this, for example. Okay, look, these are all these channels globally. Or you can say that, look, I don't care about global, Kalyan, just show me stuff from India. And we'll show you people with that kind of affinity to content with audience growth and all of that. So you're getting the point. And also, ours is probably the most powerful tool. Because we have the data size, our modeling is getting better and better. So right now we are at, okay, so the reason we replace some of the other partners in global companies which are well established people is also because our data accuracy verified is currently at, actually it's more than 95% accurate. So it's that's scarily accurate as of now, but we guarantee 90% right now. But going forward, our promise is you are still going to be 85% accurate. Most other platforms are guessing at a 50 to 70% accuracy level. So there's accuracy, there's data size, and there's analytics. And then we're talking about ability to pull contact details on a global level and giving you image rec and audio rec between in the content. And this becomes really, really useful because when you switch to a platform like YouTube, you know that content creators use all sorts of tags and description in their videos to show up in search results, which are very misleading. So if you wanted somebody who talks about finance in India, a channel, and you said, look, I want finance because I'm Googling and Googling and going crazy and searching on YouTube. Can you show me influencers who talk about finance on YouTube? I'll scrape through their data or I can go through. So this is one way to do it, which is topic. I remove the finance topic and I say, can you go by their content when they have mentioned it in their content? So I say finance and I run that, and instantly and madly I can tell you that these people have at least talked about finance. They may not be about finance, but they have mentioned the word finance. And you want to go into something more cool, you might say, okay, how about we use crypto? And you put that in. So I'm just giving you a live demo of how we are different. None of them have this capabilities. In fact, we launched because we our process to creating this tool was to take access to every tool that was worth its mention out there, and we went through all the tools and profiles and built something where our modeling succeeded. Our data modeling was so successful for accuracy that thereafter we were able to predict influencer profiles on scale. And of course, scraping deep data is also our core forte, so we've been able to build this. Sorry, a long answer to a short question, but that's an important one because everyone's running ads and I haven't started doing any of the business yet. We have not started a PR exercise. In fact, you were the first mass presentation I'm making.
That's great, Kalyan. It's really awesome tool, and I wish you all the success in the future.
Thank you so much.
Sir, we have a couple of requests for a sample report.
Oh yeah, sure. So
data but
so
both of them have left the call. Maybe we can email them.
Yeah, have they left the details? So we could. What I'll do is I'll just reach out to everyone. I hope people will reach out to me with their queries and numbers, and I'll be happy to ship out all the mails, credibles. And so here's the ask. Sorry, any more questions while we are at this?
That's all.
I did an auto sign up on the portal klug.com, and I think that's not accepting.
No, we're not. So
okay.
What's happening is a lot of our competitors have heard of this and they're coming and fishing around the thing. In fact, many agencies are coming and downloading data of our platform for their managed services.
Okay.
So my demo accounts have been floating with my competitors, which I found out today because somebody very sweetly called and told me this.
Okay.
So no worries on that. You can literally, so imagine I can now put social catalyzers out of business because that's a managed service model. Anybody can set up an influencer marketing service in a managed service business model, which has a client access. By using this tool, you have the data, you have the thing, you have no more subjectivity requirements. You call the influencers, you can take your campaigns live. The tool, but that's the power of the tool because we can go live in Somalia or South Africa or Brazil or Sao Paulo or wherever in the world, because all you need right now is this tool to literally find three platforms solved for you in its entirety.
That's great. One last thing, Kalyan. So I think the inception of this tool would be like you scouting for influencers manually as part of a service,
Yeah.
and then perhaps you thought, why don't we solve this problem forever, and float it out as a SaaS product, right?
Right. That is exactly true. In fact, there were sometimes there would be briefs. So there would be an alcohol brand that would say, "I want to launch this influencers. Can you get me from Maharashtra, who have followers in Nagpur and 2, 3 more cities?" I said, "Look, this is not possible. So the only way to fix that is let's find influencers from Nagpur and hopefully they'll have followers from Nagpur, which is the best you can do. But imagine if you put a framework. I want an influencer who's really famous from Delhi. There's a political party that said, I want influencers from Meerut who talk about Jat as a topic. I can actually do that to you and show you right now that we solve that problem instantly. I mean, it's more of the same really, but we have a city level search as well. So you want all in an influencer whose audience is from, let's say, from Meerut. I type Meerut, uh, and it's at 5% audience right now. But if they exist, there are 10,000 people, and then you say, okay, fine, let's get greedy, and let's see if anybody has 30% audience from Meerut. So we used to have all these problems which we said are not workable briefs, and outside the three main cities you really don't have contacts of any influencers. Right now I have contacts for everybody, not everybody, I have details for everybody and contacts for quite a few. So you say that, look, I want to speak to all these guys in Meerut. I can now download this, and this is a SaaS model, so it'll say, okay, fine, I'll charge you a credit. I suppose I say I want 25 influencers data I want to download. It'll cost me one credit, which is anything between $2 to $3, depending on how much you buy, and you can export these and as a CSV instantly. So while audience profiling as an insight, we give you attribution to your followers until they fall below 0.5%. So we are able to give you as many cities as they exist for an influencer. So we're fairly crazy. In fact, is there somebody whose profile you want to see in great granularity in the world?
Yeah, yeah. How about Rachna Ranade, who is the YouTube brand ambassador these days
Sure.
for
So
finance,
she,
financial education?
yeah, in fact, all our standard people, all the ecom, all the fintech guys have been really after. She's been doing a lot of money. Rachna,
Yeah, Rachna Variku and one more chap is
Ankur,
there.
Ankur Wareku and
yeah,
Rachna Ranade.
let's
Yeah, and
do
there's
that.
one more chap
Rachna.
who's grown a lot recently. Let me just.
Yeah,
Akshat,
so
Akshat
we
who
can
has
give you
Akshat, yeah.
Rachna Radner Day. Let me just get her Instagram handle because so
I can help you out.
CA Rachna Rana Day. Yeah, there you go. So CA underscore. There you go. Rachna Patke Rana Day. 690K followers. Right? Let's see.
On YouTube, she has a lot.
Yeah, she's really big on YouTube. Preferred platform is YouTube, but I'm just giving you an Insta snapshot. I can do this for YouTube as well. But in YouTube, you don't get city-wise granularity because that's against the rules, and I can't subvert Google and be credible. So on Instagram, I'm able to do this. So here is the usual numbers, the big numbers are engagement rate, her audience growth, what's been happening, who are the other people who have similar content, who are the other people who have similar audiences, brand affinities. Of course, my brand dictionary is not updated for Indian brands or local brands. It's just some of the top brands that she has somehow mentioned. Content buckets. Here is what you really want to see. What's her audience credibility? So she's good. 88% real and credible, which means this is fine. Mass followers is acceptable. But we bifurcate all of that and give it to you. So we know that only about 8% is fake. Somebody may have added, she may have added. That's fine. Uh, this is a very good number. And this you can see her cities and follower base. And I was talking about attribution. I will attribute till it falls below 5% followership of every city. 0.5%, not 5%. And similarly, engagement. Where does she get? So she gets more engagement from Pune than she gets from Mumbai. Imagine these skews to geographies and markets of actual engagers gives you a sense of utility of these influencers and what you might want to brief them with, and what kind of uh, content briefing you want to do in terms of the audience. So you can see the audience interests. We can bucket them and tell you she has various things she talks about, and what are those interest buckets that are there apart from her finance. So you might want to layer a friends and family aspect or a camera photography aspect about, I don't know how to do that around finance, but a friends family aspect you could definitely do. And you can see what it looks like by city. So she has followers from India, US, and where are they from, and where are the likes from. Again, all of that you can see all her content in one go which are her top organic posts, what are her branded posts, uh, and how they compare, and how her reels, if she has put any reels. We've been asked to put reels as a separate thing because it behaves differently as an inventory. So we put it as out there. Do you want to see the same thing for her on YouTube, or do you want to see somebody else here on Instagram?
I think YouTube should be okay.
Yeah, let's do that. So CA Rachna. So normally what I need is the channel details on YouTube. Just hang on. Give me a second. So FYI, I'm located out of I through COVID I relocated myself to the mountains. So I live in a town called Kalimpong.
Kalimpong would be northeast, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and Mr. Ambani has graced me with very good internet, but for some reason I forgot to recharge. Is why it just expired during this call, which is terrible. But that's why I dropped out briefly.
Okay.
So we've we are now pulling Rachna's data on. As you see, the granularity will not exist at the level of Instagram, but Instagram is a great reader for our audience again. So now you've got her numbers, her average likes, comments, her audience growth, her likes growth, her views. See, everything has been falling because the markets are down, I guess. I don't know. Which are the other
Yeah.
YouTube channels that share similar content? Other YouTube channels. Imagine you had success with Rachna, but you want to find others, and immediately you can see the other people who talk similar stuff. I, so in her cohort of followers, we are able to tell you her engagement rate, that she is at about 0.3 to 0.9%, but the median in her category is about this high for even for YouTube. And for audience, we have limited data on YouTube, so you can see her location by country only. That's the granularity that I'm allowed. But we are able to give you that. We are able to give you audience and age and gender split of the audience, even on YouTube. And who are the other notable channels that follow her on YouTube? All of that, all the way down. So, and yeah, you can download all of this instantly. If you want to contact her, we have a number, details, everything. There you go. You download report. This report will cost you about, like I said, $2 to $3, and it's yours.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks for that.
No stress. So yeah, this is helpful because none of this, what I like to say is human dependent. The idea is you want it, you see it, the machine will generate it for you. In case the data is not pulled, we already have the data, so all we need to do is wait for. So we tell you wait for 15 minutes, the system will pull it and populate it, and you'll have data ready in 15 minutes. That's the outside. Normally it takes 5 to 7 minutes. So there is no human intervention. The most of the other partners, somebody asked, how are you different, and you asked. So they actually do manual data and uploading. So they'll you enter for an influencer, the data is not there. They call you, they give us 3 to 4 days. Then they enter, they go to the profile, they model that data, put something on a CSV, upload it into the system. So even the data is not real half the time. So that's the power of modeling, where we take, like I said, anything between 1,000, preferably 5,000 minimum, to 22,000 data points for modeling the audience quality. So we scrape 22,000 audiences, build that model, bring it back, slap it onto the vectors of the main database for the influencer, and we are able to cross reference, and that's how we are able to tell you duplicated audience by that sampling. I think this Friday evening has gotten heavy for many people who have left, but I hope they left with the right vibes. Any questions? Are we good?
I think we're good, Kalyan. Thank you so much for your time. This was really fun to attend.
Thank
You
you,
know,
Rohit. Thanks for sticking. I hope uh, just help spread the word, put it out, let everyone know in the circles that we are. Uh,
sure.
we need all the business we can get. Self employment is a bitch.
I think bootstrapping is the best way to go, which you're already into, right? These days.
Yeah. So our entire social catalysis model was also that we operated and we were profitable from day zero by only doing work that paid, um, and we scaled up. Then we started building this. So obviously, tech takes a long time to build, but
Right.
we were happy to land very surprisingly first. Uh, it doesn't happen. We weren't expecting it to either. But right now, we
Great.
you
So,
wouldn't be lying if you told anyone that this is the world's most powerful influencer KOL marketing tool.